Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura, and today I am doing my possibly last rightstuf haul. I'm not entirely sure. Unfortunately, rightstuf seems to have made some changes to how they ship to Canada, making it more and more difficult. So I may or may not be participating in buying off of rightstuf anymore, just because of the way that they manage their orders. I buy a lot of manga, but the way that they're doing things now, or at least the way that it was communicated to me, and maybe it was communicated to me in this way so that I would feel like there was an answer, because I know that customer service does that as well. But at the point that I ordered a whole bunch of things that were pre-ordered. I like to pre-order around up to 3 months. I didn't want to pre-order much further than that. And they said that anything now shipping to Canada, regardless of what it is or when the pre-orders come out, everything has to be available before any of your order will arrive. And so they aren't now shipping out things in piecemeal, which I kind of understand because shipping is expensive, particularly shipping to Canada, especially when you're going across the border. So I get it, but at the same time, I wasn't told before I ordered, and so up until that point, I was getting my order as things were being released. So now, not only do I have to make sure I spend $250 to get the free shipping, I now have to wait until that last book releases. And in the case of this order, I had ordered this back in June of 2018. As I'm filming it, it is now April. I just got this a couple days ago. So it took almost a year, about 10 months, for this order to arrive, because one of the titles in this order kept getting its release date changed. And that happens in publishing. You know, they're not ready for the title to, be published, and they might have some problems back in the publisher's world domain. Maybe it's not translated yet, maybe they haven't got enough copies, maybe there was some error in the publication, or maybe it just isn't working for their marketing. You know, they have too many other things coming up. They want to hold this big title for later. And I totally get that. You know, I know quite a lot about publishing. That's a totally normal thing. But in the case of this, when I'm an individual vendor, I'm a single person, you know, I'm a customer, that I would have to wait almost a year to get books that have been released almost a year ago, and some older. I don't think that's very good customer service. So I'm really kind of debating whether or not this is even a vendor I'm going to be purchasing from in the future. Yeah, so it's a little bit awkward. I also have an affiliate link for them down below, so, you know, if I don't continue with them, I might as well get rid of that as well. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do at this point. But the stuff did arrive, and it was in pretty good condition. Finally, and I've been looking forward to it for a long time. And I will just show it to you here now, finally. So before I get into the rightstuf, I did say that there was one additional volume that I got, and this was another pre-order, but I had ordered this one off of Amazon, so it had just finally arrived. Also, I think had a publishing date release later, maybe, I'm not entirely sure, and I think this is the second last one. So there's one more that's going to be coming up, and then the Kitaro series will be done. So this is Kitaro's Yokai Battles by Shigeru Mizuki, and it's published by Drawn and Quarterly, and you know, you should get on these if you have an inclination towards older comics at all. This is a great series. It's beautifully illustrated, and it's a really essential title for your collection if you want to really get into manga collecting or understanding the sources of manga. Shigeru Mizuki invented yokai that people believe in, so you really need to get on buying Kitaro. I really love Kitaro. Is one of the characters that I buy quite a lot of merchandise for. I don't buy a lot of merchandise in general, but if there is a Kitaro item, particularly Medama Oyaji, I really love his eyeball father. I will probably see if I can acquire it. So I have quite a lot of Kitaro things hanging around here. But because this is a small publisher, or smaller publisher, Drawn and Quarterly is a small Canadian publisher, you really should get on this before it is gone. I lied, there was one more title. This one is from the chapter sale, my last haul that I had posted, I had ordered a bunch of things, and then I had realized after I had placed the order that I was missing this particular title. And I had ordered volume 2 in my order, but I hadn't ordered volume 1. I think what had happened is that when I was making my order on chapters, that some of the titles were falling out of the cart, were just disappearing. So this didn't happen. So my sister also placed an order like 2 days later, and so I got her to buy this for me. So this is Urusei Yatsura by Rumiko Takahashi. So I have volume 1. It's finally getting reprinted. It's a pretty big omnibus. It's not a quality print that I was hoping for, you know, for a big classic series like this. Should have gotten a little bit finer treatment in my opinion. You know, like there's, you know, it's just a bigger size. The binding just doesn't seem like super sturdy. I'm not entirely sure why they didn't go like for a bigger treatment, because Urusei Yatsura has been basically in the catalog, in the Viz catalog for decades now. You know, I have single issues, I already have some tankobon kind of compilation titles that they've got, and finally this is being released and released in order. So I'm really excited about getting into this, and volume 2 is also on the way. Now into Seven Seas. Another classic series, and this one I believe is done after this volume, so I think there's 3 volumes. This is Dragon Half by Ryusuke Mita. I read the first volume over a year ago now, before this order happened. I really loved it, and I'm looking forward to getting into this next one. There are some color pages in the middle, and you know, it is a bit of a, like, there's some ecchi elements to it, but it's mostly just a silly, in my opinion, feels like the Jetsons type story. There's a girl who is a dragon half. She's half dragon, half sort of, I think actually half dragon slayer, or half, you know, so she's quite strong. And she's fallen in love with this kind of dragon slayer slash rock and roll boy, and she's basically competing for his affection with someone else. It's so silly. It's so funny, and I really like it. Next up, I got 2 novels. They're both from the same series, or one's a novel, one's a short stories. The first one is The Complete Metamorphosis. This is the Perfect Blue novel by Yoshikazu Takeuchi. This is the novel that inspired the movie. And then I believe this is the second one, which are short stories, which is called Awaken the Dream, also by Yoshikazu Takeuchi. So I ended up picking these up. Mostly, I'm not entirely sure that this is going to be a great novel. There's not a lot of text. There's huge margins. So, like, I'm not expecting... It looks more like a novella, actually, if they had published it in sort of more of a standard format. I don't have high expectations for it, but I thought that I would collect it just because Perfect Blue is such a classic series. So I really would like to read this, and I don't think that this was a light novel at all. I think this is actually legitimately a novel, so that appeals to me a little bit more. So hopefully the translation's good on those. I got the last and final volume of Orange. This is Orange Future by Ichigo Takano. So this is supposed to be sort of like a spin-off or subplot of the Orange series, maybe an alternate reality. I don't actually know what this is. I've only actually read that first volume of Orange. I haven't actually finished reading it, but now that it's complete, I probably will restart it and try again. So at some point, I will be reading Orange again. I actually really enjoyed the first volume. It might even have been one of my favorites from a few years ago, but never just went any further, which happens a lot with me. I tend to read a volume, and then I find something else to read, and then I'll come back a couple years later and read the rest. So yeah, it'll happen. I bought 4 volumes of Dreamin' Sun, so I ended up getting volume 5, volume 6, volume 7, and volume 8. This is basically the story about a girl who's uncomfortable at home, leaves home, ends up living with a bunch of classmates, or in an apartment, a bunch of boys. And it has a feeling of Fruits Basket, only it isn't nearly as strong. I think it's more cutesy. It wasn't really my favorite series, and it seems weird that I continue to buy it, but it is a title that I have actually read before. I read it when I was reading scans. As you know, I'm a big advocate against reading scans, but there was a time when I did read scans when I didn't really understand the implication, and so now, I don't think I've ever mentioned it, but I do have an ongoing project sort of since my conversion, as you would, that I am actually buying all of the titles that I had read during then. I've kept track of everything, and since then I've bought about 200 volumes. Luckily, most of them have been translated into English, but I know a lot of the ones now that I am sitting on and waiting, I suspect are not getting translated, so I'm going to have to start buying them in Japanese to clear my conscience about that. And that is why I'm buying that series. I ended up picking up a new title, and this one just really intriguing, different premise. Satoko and Nada, story and art by Yuppie Chika, script advisor by Maria Nishimori. I just flipped through it right now. I'm not a huge fan of the art, but it is sort of a 4-koma or yonkoma format. Very kind of cutesy. I think it's really about two girls possibly who are roommates. Maybe they're like an exchange student or something. I actually didn't look. It does say friendship between a Japanese woman and her Muslim roommate. So it really is just sort of about learning about each other, I think. And it's a very, very small volume, so they're charging $16. I don't think that this is a $16 volume. So if I don't love this, I might not keep collecting it just because it just feels so insubstantial at the moment. I ended up picking up the last volume in a series that I started collecting secondhand. This is Portrait of M&N by Tachibana Higuchi. It's just a 4-volume series, but I was missing volume 3. I had picked it up at a secondhand sale earlier, possibly last year. It's about a relationship between a masochist and a narcissist, apparently, a romance title. And you know, I don't know if you've ever read Gakuen Ellis. I remember reading a little bit of it, and it was quite dark. So I suspect that this is going to have sort of some of that flavor to it as well. So I'm interested in seeing it. It is only 4 volumes long, so I thought it would be a nice short series, and it was nice to be able to actually collect this new. I think Right Stuf, one of the good things about them is I think that they have some connection where they are able to pick up old stock from different places, and every once in a while they'll have these old out-of-print titles for sale. So they're a good place to look, particularly in their like sales section, because they'll often have titles that I'm looking for in there. So yeah, so I probably can't divorce myself too much from this vendor. I might be behind on this, but remember this is from a year ago releases, so there might be more. I haven't actually looked, but this is Girl from the Other Side by Nagabe, so I ended up getting volume 4 and volume 5, and this is a really great series, just a really unique kind of folk tale-esque with beautiful illustrations. So I really enjoyed what I've read so far, which is up to volume 3. Looking forward to seeing how this story goes. So I have been waiting quite a bit for this one. I picked up the next volume in this series, which I have not started reading yet. This is Saint Seiya Saintia Show by Masami Kuromada and art by Chimaki Kuori. I'm kind of waiting until I'm finished collecting some of the other titles that I've got by Masami Kuromada. You know, I am collecting Saint Seiya. That one is going to be a little bit harder to finish, but I'm really near finishing collecting Beat X, and so I would really like to read one of his other older series before I get into this one. I might read the first volume, but I think that I would like the experience of reading some of his other stuff first. I have seen quite a bit of his anime, but I think I would like to read the manga first. But I am still collecting this because I am really intrigued about the future. I got what appears to be quite a funny series. It's definitely a spoof on the magical girl genre, and that is Unmagical Girl, story by Ryoichi Yokoyama and art by Maru Uetsuki. So I ended up getting volume 1 as well as volume 2, and basically this sounds like a story sort of like AI Love You or Video Girl AI, where a character is brought from the television world. So she actually is a magical girl from an anime. She is brought into the real world, and now she has to sort of learn to survive in the real world, and maybe her magical girl nature isn't going to be enough. So it sounds like just like a really silly series. I'm not terribly impressed with the art with this initial flip through, but I think the concept will work, and hopefully it's not a long series. I just want something kind of quick and cute and jokey, so I think that this will be kind of fun. The next title is Anything But Cute. This one is Versailles of the Dead by Kumiko Suekane. I'm going to have to look that name up because it's very familiar, so I wonder if I haven't read something else by this author. This looks like it's a story about Marie Antoinette during some sort of zombie apocalypse. So a lot like something like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. You know, there's that whole new kind of horror / classics twist. That's what this sort of looks like. It does look like it's kind of gory, but at the same time historical fantasy of some sort. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to getting into this one. And now on to some of the serious titles, or really all the same title. So first off, I've got more of Captain Harlock Space Pirate Dimensional Voyage, story by Leiji Matsumoto, art by Koichi Shimaboshi. So I ended up getting volume 2. I already have volume 1. I haven't actually started reading this series yet. Volume 3, volume 4, and volume 5. But, you know, I have been kind of waiting for some of the bigger classic series to come out before I actually read some of these new editions. The same kind of goes for this one. This is Get a Robo Devolution, the last 3 minutes of the universe. And the original story by Go Nagai and Ken Ishikawa, manga by Eiichi Shimizu and Tomohiro Shimoguchi. I think Eiichi Shimizu is doing Ultraman? Yeah. Is working on Ultraman, so I think the art will be really great in it. So at any rate, I ended up getting volume 1 and volume 2. I don't know how many are in this series, so I don't know if this is continuing or it's done into. I haven't actually looked at this since I ordered it. I suspect that there's more, but we will see. And then we have the hardcover collection, so these ones are all Go Nagai or Leiji Matsumoto titles. So first off, we've got Cutie Honey, the classic collection. This is Go Nagai's title, and these are really beautifully published. There isn't a lot that I can show. Well, actually, it's not so bad. But they're going to look so nice. They're going to look so nice on the shelf. So they're quite nice hardcovers. I love the pink. In my last haul, I had showed you this one, so I ended up getting Captain Harlock, the Classic Collection Volume 1 and Volume 2. These are by Leiji Matsumoto. So I do have Volume 3, which completes the series. So again, these are going to look really nice. And then another Go Nagai. So then I've got Devilman Volume 1 and volume 2, and these ones are a little bit bigger than the last couple. You can see they're quite attractive. Oh, they're just gonna look so beautiful. I don't know, normally I put everything alphabetical, but it's tempting to keep all of these together. And then the last volume, and the reason that I had to wait so long for my order, is a Leiji Matsumoto title, and this is Space Battleship Yamato. Again, the classic collection. So it's just a single volume, so this is done. I don't know that there's any more coming out in this classic collection sort of series, but I hope so because these are really beautifully published. Some of the nicer hardcovers that I have seen, particular from some of these bigger publishers. So here they are all together, and you can see it just looks so nice together. They're so beautiful and symmetrical and nicely designed. So I'm really happy about this collection, and I can't wait to read them. Now I have tons to read, so yeah, I'm very glad that these finally arrived and in one piece, so that was good. So that's it. That's everything from my Right Stuf haul from June of 2018. I'm very happy to see all of these titles. I'm looking forward to reading a lot of them. Most of them are classic titles, which is really great to see too. I've been really thrilled with the publishing industry that's strong enough now that it seems to be able to support bringing in some of these more classic titles. I really do love sort of some of these older series, and I'm really grateful that I could finally collect them. And in English, it's just so nice to be able to collect things in English because, you know, I can read them then. So at any rate, let me know what you've been collecting lately. Have you picked up any of these classic collections? Let me know what your thoughts are on them. And I think that's it for today, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.